Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on Little's Law YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to see what is an SSH key and how to add the SSH key into your GitHub account. So, before we see how to add the SSH key to the GitHub account, first we will see what is an SSH key. So, SSH, which is the short form of the secure shell, and these are the keys are a pair of cryptographic keys which are used for securing communication and authentication between two systems. So in the context of GitHub, so here we can see in the GitHub the SSH keys are used to establish a secure connection between our local machine and the GitHub server. So here we have the GitHub server, and this SSH key will establish a secure connection between our local machine and the GitHub server, and that's the reason we need to have this SSH key. And when we generate an SSH key pair, it consists of two parts, a private key and a public key. The private key should be kept secure and should never be shared, and the public key on the other hand can be shared with others or stored on remote servers. So GitHub uses this. So here you can see I have added a public key to communicate or to connect the GitHub server and my local machine, and this GitHub uses SSH keys for authentication purposes. So by adding our SSH public key to a GitHub account, we can prove our identity when interacting with GitHub repositories, and when we attempt to clone or push or pull from a repository over SSH, GitHub verifies our identity using our private key. So the first reason which we need the GitHub SSH key in GitHub is, so the first reason is securing authentication, and this SSH keys provide a secure way to authenticate and establish a secure connection between our local machine and the GitHub server, and they offer a more secure alternative to using passwords for authentication. So in case if we are integrating the GitHub in tool like Jenkins or in any other tools, we don't need to enter the username and password, rather we can give our GitHub SSH key. And when it comes to convenience, once we have set up our SSH key with our GitHub account, we can authenticate with the server without entering our username and password every time we interact with the repository, and this makes the authentication process more convenient and efficient. And then when it comes to access control, by associating an SSH key with our GitHub account, we can control access to our repositories, and we can add or remove SSH keys to grant or revoke access for specific user or systems. So now we will see step by step how to create SSH key and how to add the SSH key into the GitHub. And to generate the SSH key, we need a git bash, and I have opened my git bash here. And then to generate the the SSH key, we have to give the command which is SSH keygen and -t ed to 5519, and then a minus symbol or a hyphen symbol, and then C, and you must enter your email ID. So here I'm giving my email ID, and then when I click on enter, this will create or this will generate a public and the private key pair. So now this will ask for a file to save, so I'm giving new SSH, or I will give as temp SSH. When I click on enter, this will ask for a passphrase. In case if you have any passphrase, you can enter it, or else if you do not have any passphrase, you can just click enter. Then if you have nothing, again you can click enter, and this will create the public and the private files. So to find the public and the private files, we'll have to go to the user. So it is under C drive, and then under users, and under your username we can find the keys. So here you have two files, one is the private file and then the public file. So the private you're not supposed to share with anyone, and the public file we can share. We need to use it, or we need to copy paste this in the GitHub. So let me open this file. So here I have the file with me. Here I have the content of the file, and then let's now go back to the SSH keys and then click on new SSH key, and title you can add it as github SSH key, and then just paste whatever you have copied it from the public file and click on add SSH key, and this will automatically add your SSH key into the account. So this is how we normally create, or we normally generate an SSH key and add it to the GitHub account. So I hope this video is very useful to you. So until we meet you in another interesting video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and Little Slaw.